morning and welcome to Kids Church. Today we're learning that faithfulness is a fruit of the Spirit. We're going to find out how about two friends who stayed faithful to each other. Now the friends in our Bible story were named David and Jonathan. David and Jonathan were so close they were like brothers. They were as connected as two halves of the paper. And it was an unlikely friendship. You see, Jonathan was King Saul's son. That meant that he was in line to be the next king. But God had promised David that he would be the next king, even though David was just a shepherd. Plus, King Saul, Jonathan's dad, hated David. One day, David went to find Jonathan and asked him, "Why is it your dad is trying to kill me?" But Jonathan didn't believe that Saul really wanted to kill David. So they came up with a plan to find out how Saul really felt.
1 Samuel 20 verses 5 to 7. So David said, "Look, tomorrow is the new moon festival. I'm supposed to eat with the king, but let me hide in the field until the third evening. Your father will notice that I'm gone. If he does, tell him, David begged me to let him go to his hometown of Bethlehem. Every year at this time, his family group offers a sacrifice. If your father says, fine, I'm safe. But if he becomes angry, you can believe he wants to hurt me."
Next, David and Jonathan had to come with a secret way to communicate what Jonathan had found out. If Saul did really want to kill David, Jonathan could get in trouble for telling him. Here's what they came up with.
Samuel 20, 19 to 23. On the third day, go to the place where you hid when this trouble began. Wait by the rock Esau. On the third day, I will shoot 3 arrows to the side of the rock. I will shoot them as if I am shooting at a target. Then I will send a boy and tell him to go find the arrows. I may say to him, "Look at the arrows are on this side of you. Bring them here. If so, you may come out of hiding. You may do this as surely as the Lord lives, but you are safe. There is no danger." But I may say to the boy, "Look, the arrow is beyond you. If I do, you must go, because the Lord has sent you away." Remember that we talked about the Lord is a witness between you and me forever.
David and Jonathan had their own secret code. The next day, it was time for the New Moon's festival to start, and so David went to hide in the fields, and Jonathan went to the festival. On the second day of the festival, King Saul noticed that David was missing. So Jonathan was faithful to his and David's plan. Faithfulness is a fruit of the Spirit. Let's listen.
Samuel 20, 27 to 29. But the next day was the second day of the month, and David's place was empty again. So Saul said to Jonathan, "Why hasn't the son of Jesse come to the festival yesterday or today?" Jonathan answered, "David begged me to let him go to Bethlehem. He said, 'Let me go, because our family has sacrifice in the town, and my brother has ordered me to be there. Now if I am your friend, please let me go and see my brothers. That is why he has not come to the king's table.'"
That's when King Saul got really mad. He told Jonathan to go and find David so he could kill him. But Jonathan was a faithful friend, so he refused. King Saul got so mad that he hurled a spear at Jonathan. Luckily, He missed, but Jonathan had a clear answer. His dad really wanted David dead. It was time for the second part of their plan, where David and Jonathan would use their secret code.
1 Samuel 20, 35 to 36. The next morning, Jonathan went out to the field. He went to meet David as they had agreed. He had a young boy with him. Jonathan said to the boy, "Run and find arrows I shoot." He ran. Jonathan shoot an arrow beyond him.
Jonathan had to tell David no, because it was not safe to come out. David needed to leave town, so they used their own code.
1 Samuel 20 to 27 to 40. The boy ran to the place where Jonathan's arrows fell, but Jonathan called, "The arrow is beyond you." Then he shouted, "Hurry, go quickly, don't stop." The boy picked up the arrow and brought it back to his master. The boy knew nothing about what this meant. Only Jonathan and David knew. Then Jonathan gave his weapons to the boy. He told him, "Go back to town."
After Jonathan's servants left, David came out of hiding to say goodbye to Jonathan. That was a really, really sad moment. They weren't just saying goodbye for a little while. They knew that they probably never would see each other again. Now, have you had to say goodbye to someone you loved? Maybe a friend from school just moved houses and went to another town. When your friends moved away, you can sometimes still keep in touch. We might text or call them or Zoom, all sorts of different ways we can still keep in contact with them. But you see, there was no technology for David and Jonathan to keep in touch. They couldn't even send letters. It was all too risky since Saul wanted so desperately to kill David. Being apart from people we love feels like something's missing. Now, I want you to try something. Take one of your shoes off. Just one of your shoes. So you've got one foot in one shoe and one foot barefoot. Try walking around. Now, how does that remind you of how it feels to be without a friend? You see, shoes are meant to be going in pairs. When you're missing one, you feel a bit off. You might even walk with a limp. It just doesn't feel right. I wonder if that's how David and Jonathan felt when they said goodbye forever. But you know what? Even though they wouldn't see each other again, their hearts remained faithful to each other. Faithfulness is a fruit of the Spirit, and we can see how God helped David and Jonathan be faithful friends. Jonathan was willing to give up being king because he knew God's plan was for his friend David to be king. He was willing to risk his life to help David escape. Jonathan was a faithful friend. And later on, after David became king and Jonathan died, David found Jonathan's son and showed kindness to him. Years later, David was still being a faithful friend because faithfulness is a fruit of the Spirit. So I hope this week you're going to do maybe something special with some of your friends. In the meantime, have a look at the Resource Centre for plenty of activities, and remember to check in on the summer's activities. Bye, see you next week.